Whatever remained of the royal olive branch may have been burnt by Prince Harry's recent rhetorical explosion. Harry opens out once again in a recent interview that has already caused the palace walls to tremble, and this time, it's not only about his typical targets. It concerns his father, King Charles, the monarchy, and his perception of his place in the whole royal story. Even though the man is in Ukraine for charitable work, his remarks against his family from a speeding train are nevertheless resonating like a battle trumpet throughout Buckingham Palace. Let's get started with the headline. Harry asserts once again that he has a clean conscience. Yes. The guy maintains that he had no remorse despite Spare. The Oprah interview, the Netflix drama, security litigation, and years of royal mudslinging. I wasn't airing dirty laundry, he said. All he was doing was correcting the story. That is his tale, and he will not change it. The timing, however, is where things get unclear, since he had been seen getting back in touch with his father, who had cancer just days before. Yeah, I'd do it all over again, he is essentially saying today. Well done, Harry. However, it didn't end there. Harry flatly refused to say that he regretted making his complaints so public. The book is the only way to get the truth out, he said. Harry claims that you can't sugarcoat the truth, and it seems that he still doesn't think that anything he said, even Spare, was harsh. However, the repercussions presents a different picture. Palace sources are reportedly furious, claiming that the tone of the interview was disrespectful and insensitive, particularly since Charles's health is now a public issue. Then, of course, there's the subtle jab, or depending on how you interpret it, maybe not so subtle. Harry says that my dad must be the main emphasis in the next year. He hopes to visit King Charles more. Apart from the fact that it seems like he's attempting to draw attention to how seriously the king's illness could be, it wouldn't be contentious on its own. Whether on purpose or not, he seems to be reminding everyone that there may not be much time left. And while it could be considered touching by some, or accountable, palace officials are describing it as blatantly inhumane. Even worse, according to a senior royal insider, he acts like repeating these stories helps, but it just twists the knife. And the royal inner circle is often feeling that way. Harry always has another public incident that throws things back into disarray just when they believe he may be improving. Even his supporters are beginning to tremble. You can't simply say that you want to make amends and then throw verbal bombs every few months. Harry, however, doesn't think so. This isn't retaliation against him. It's responsibility. He wants his reputation to be cleared by the media. He desires a shift in the story. And this is the only method he can think of to get there. It's difficult to ignore the paradox, however. I'm done fighting, he says. However, each new quotation seems like a hornet's nest attack. Furthermore, let's face it, even his most understanding relatives are most likely out of stinger. Meghan, however, was seldom addressed throughout the interview. Her statement that speaking the truth is the most effective way to live is the sole illusion, and Harry obviously heeded that counsel. It is debatable, however, whether that reality is unvarnished or somewhat skewed. Don't get me wrong, however. He believes everything. And this royal rift may be sustained by that conviction, that unwavering sense of justice. For Harry, the truth does more than just liberate you. It ignites the whole thing. Prince Harry's recent appearances' optics are also not in his favor. As part of his Invictus mission, he traveled in Ukraine, where he met injured troops, spoke about resiliency, and was photographed next to war monuments. It seems like the type of cause that everyone would support. He is promoting prosthetic athletes, advocating for innovative healing methods, and working to establish sporting facilities for veterans around Ukraine. However, detractors began to doubt his intentions as soon as the interview was released. Was this related to the mission, or was it just another well-meaning public relations ploy? Because let's face it, Harry is a camera operator, and it quickly caught the attention of the media. The solemn train journeys, the silent periods at monuments, the walking stick, all of it is so well executed. It's difficult not to question if each action is thoughtfully constructed for narrative effect. Ironically, even though he says he detests staged images and doesn't take them, the message is still orchestrated. In fact, it seems as if Harry is creating a version of himself that he wants the world to believe with each quotation and image. Unconcerned, misunderstood, and principled. Later in the conversation, Harry states that unbothered and unbothered is his most famous success statement. Then followed the overt boast about having a very Ukrainian mindset. Harry claims that since he follows his own path, the villagers have accepted him. People were raising their eyebrows at that sentence alone. It's the kind of egotistical remark that sounds modest. Additionally, it's classic Harry, presenting himself as a sophisticated rebel while bringing up Princess Diana once again and claiming that he inherits it from her. It struck emotional nerves there. People adored Diana not because she claimed to be real, but because she was. And when Harry wants popular sympathy, others believe he relies too heavily on that heritage. He claims that his emotional condition is fine. Harry says he's pleased in spite of the strain and the media. Not satisfied, yet satisfied. He claims that the media misreports it, that they portray him as lost and sad. He rejects such perception, asserting that he is content with his current situation and his transformation. However, it's difficult to overlook the hint of annoyance in his comments, whether they are disobedience or denial. Unless you're attempting to persuade someone, or maybe yourself, you don't keep arguing for your happiness. He often, and not in passing, brings up the press. He obviously views them as the main antagonist in this story. Additionally, he charges that they are out of touch with the true British people and are attempting to dominate the public narrative. He claims that it is because of them that reconciliation seems unattainable. They are the cause of people's perceptions of him as being irate, resentful, or unappreciative, and his obsession with media betrayal keeps coming back like an unhealing wound. Even his court cases are presented as moral quests. He continues to sue prominent British publications. And the way he discusses it, principle is more important than justice. Change is what he desires. He wants the media to answer for their actions. However, he either doesn't understand or won't acknowledge that his incessant speech is a part of the same cycle. Each new interview turns into ammunition. Each quotation turns into a headline. Additionally, despite his claims of wanting peace, he continues to give the press more ammunition. Meanwhile, the palace is said to be quite irritated. One source described his comments as a stomach hit, particularly the part that suggested Charles could not have much time left. Others claim that the family felt taken by surprise when Harry stormed through the tiny door they had opened for their reunion while the cameras were filming. His method seems like a contradiction to a family that lives by the maxim, never complain, never explain. Once again, treachery. It's becoming harder to ignore the reoccurring trend. Although Prince Harry claims to want to mend things, each time he speaks, he somehow exacerbates the divide. He is using a sledgehammer to rewrite the rules, whether he is aware of it or not. On paper, his recent claims that truth is necessary for healing may seem admirable, but when seen through his prism, they come off more as an excuse to keep the microphone in place. Behind the palace gates, rage has already been stoked by the statement that reconciliation is impossible without truth. It may seem to the general public as a plea for candor. It is an allegation against the royal family. It implies that Harry believes he is the lone person speaking the truth, and the solitary voice of righteousness amid a sea of stillness. There is not much space for conversation in that type of framework. All it does is point fingers. The message being received behind the scenes is also quite obvious. Harry continues to believe that he is the victim, and that the monarchy would acknowledge its wrongdoing before there is any chance of tranquility. Then there's the time problem. Harry makes these emotionally cold, even opportunistic, public statements immediately after a brief and precarious reunion with King Charles, who was reportedly battling a very severe illness. A phrase about how valuable life is, a hazy remark about wanting to spend more time with his father, and then silence. No love, no appreciation, just a plan. The number of insiders who are seeing it is that high. And to be honest, it's easy to see why. Harry added gasoline to the flames by defending Spare once again, claiming that it was essential, honest, and well worth the effort. He continues to declare that he would do it again in spite of all the criticism and the ramifications for his family. It was more than simply a memoir. The execution of intimate moments was made public. Tales of William, insults directed at Camilla, and agonizing experiences that he was never the only one to share. To people he wrote about, it seemed like betrayal. But to him, it could have felt like purification. Ink carved. Even more startling is the way Harry distances himself from accountability. He dodges questions about how the public views him. He claims it's merely principles if someone believes he is being obstinate. He claims it's media manipulation if someone perceives him as resentful. There is no introspection or stop to think about whether his actions, no matter how well-meaning, have hurt anybody. It is always someone else's story and their fault. Nevertheless, he states in the same sentence that he believes the British population supports him. That's a difficult statement to make because, while some people still think highly of him, a significant portion of the public now sees him as outdated, excessively sensitive, and unfortunately, a little too fixated on his own image. When you're profiting off family hurts and flying private from charity missions, it's difficult to maintain moral superiority. As the inconsistencies mount, people are beginning to take attention. Ultimately, neither the palace nor the press may be Harry's greatest issue. His mouth is it.